here to talk about the Nexus Season 6 main event with some very top players and some very boring moves. The Diplomats, as always, is brought to you by diplomacybriefing.com, where you can get all your diplomacy content, what's happening in the hobby for free in your email box and no spam at diplomacybriefing.com. All right, I'm here with Stitches, Don, Keith, Master of Variants, two-time main event finalist, Audacious Hand, main event finalist, me, long time ago main event finalist. It's been many years. Keep trying, keep failing, but I look here, and if this is what got these guys to the main event, count me out. All right, impressions.
Where do you want to start? Anywhere?
Can I just start with you guys? I just want to tell you guys I'm furious with you two. I'm so mad because I came into this, I'd been a little bit disconnected from the whole scene, and I come in for this, like little warm up. It's kind of goofy. We're gonna grade their power selections, and you guys come scuttling over to me, rushing over to me, like, have you heard the latest gossip? Like, oh my god, like prearranged alliances, and I got all excited, like, I got a little bit aroused. I was like, oh my, we're gonna see something amazing. Like, I love borderline cheating. That's what diplomacy is all about. And then this. What? Why did you fill my heart full of hope like this? Like, what was the object?
Only to make you disappointed. It is an interesting point you make about cheating. I've read, and you can find them on the early internet, Alan Kalhamer's early articles about the game he created, Diplomacy, and he's got whole sections in there about, can you change your orders if you see what other people's orders are after they're turned in? And he's like, yeah. Of course.
Yeah, it's just, but yeah, I mean, like, I have to say, I think that maybe we should like start a segment where for the and this is almost an FU. I've seen that some people are saying that are against public chat during the finals, which is just against the spirit of Nexus. And let me tell you, you shrill moralists, get out of here. Just get out. Like, you've ruined Nexus enough. Like, Nexus, if anyone wants to contact me, and I'll sing you the tales of IMM versus the Hearts, the great war that we had, and now we're not even allowed to have the artistic cheating that we used to. It's just disgusting. But in the spirit of just reviving the public commentary, I think we should almost start a segment that's like our favorite public comment of the week. And my favorite is from our friend Babu Natale, who says, "Oh, come on, season 6 finalists. All of this waiting for that standard crap? Seriously? Where's the metagaming we were expecting? Where's the result of your secret mutual help chats? Where's the pathos? Where's the blood? Oh, come on." And that's exactly how I feel. That's the comment of the week, or the day, or whatever.
I tell you what, the thing that got me the most since our pod was released earlier today, pregame, was Philip trying to metagame us.
Oh, I didn't see that. What was that about?
He's just talking about being a used car salesman. He's trying to get us on his side, just being so likable.
I didn't see that. Interesting.
Yeah. I didn't see it either.
Sure. I did get a threatening private message from Turkey, I will say. But we'll see. I think he's a little tired of my grades.
I'm the one who gave him an F. I gave him an F.
I know, but you don't have the history we have.
Yeah. You didn't drag him like you did England last season.
It's all right. Look, he called me Mr. Sullivan. He can do whatever he wants. Why we're talking about all this other stuff is because, well, look at the map. What's there to talk about? The most conventional opening that you'll see, I prefer the Liverpool to Edinburgh move, personally.
Yeah.
Especially if you know that France is going to be friendly. And yeah. it's just it's far superior. You can do a lot more with it. If
Mhm.
you're worried about France, maybe York, but yeah, I think an EF has been written since the draw. Riaz obviously wants to go north, so France has no.
I don't know if it's obvious. These moves are other, other than an anti-French move. This is probably the most standard English opening of any of them.
It is.
It's become, I mean, if you read the old articles, from like on Diplomacy Archive and stuff, they really push the move to Edinburgh. This is more of a modern opening, the move to York, and it's kind of hedging your bets. I'm not going to go over. It's funny that this is the same opening that Turkey, the private message bully, did last finals. But and I won't go into the whole analogy about how it's something a trembling little Yorkie dog would do again. We've all heard that before. But I will say, I mean, I think I'm even more disappointed this year because Riaz picked England because he likes England, right? Like, doesn't that indicate that you're going to do something dynamic? But
Not
no.
necessarily. Maybe he's comfortable on the standard play.
I don't fault him. It's a standard play.
It's a standard play.
This is Umble's standard move as France. The supported move into Burgundy.
Mine too. That's my favorite move. But it's a little aggressive. I was expecting a better setup for Western triple if need be.
You guys are just wrong. I
But
feel like we need a reevaluation of modern England and French play. I know I'm like going against the prevailing winds here, but I disagree so much. To me, Germany wins this round by not trying to go to Burgundy. It's okay, waste 2 of your moves supporting into Burgundy. I mean, now if you want Portugal, you have to move your fleet into there and putting it 2 moves away from any theater of war. There's absolutely no reason to. He could have had both Spain and Portugal and the Mid Atlantic.
Well, sure, what's that, the Lisbon Leap or whatever, but I like being a player in Belgium.
yeah, me too.
I like having a say on what will happen.
Well, then fine. You didn't need to support in. I think Germany wins that exchange. I mean, I wonder if Germany even. I imagine that the move is for France to say I am supporting it to Burgundy, and I can see the logic in the sense that you're asserting that Burgundy is French. You're saying this is part of my territorial integrity. We're not going to bounce in Burgundy. I do not accept any move into Burgundy. That does set a good precedent, but on the other hand,
isn't it kind of funny in diplomacy that Burgundy it's obviously an extraordinarily important tile, but in modern diplomacy, Germany does sort of cede it now. You don't see that German move into Burgundy as much as you used to, or even bounces in Burgundy like you used to.
Well, it's much more important to France in general. It's got 2 home centers connected to it. So, I mean, Munich's hard to hold, easy to get back. It's just Burgundy's just not as important as it used to be.
I'm all for I like the German move to Burgundy, and it's true, Ed. You don't see it. I mean, I'm not really in touch with the wider world of diplomacy as much, but in my limited experience, I've seen it less than I've read about it. I think that it is true. I think that there is a kind of psychological war over Burgundy in 1901 where you're kind of establishing, is it an integral part of France, or are we gonna have an arranged standoff there? Is it more, is Germany allowed to pretend as if it's as important to him as it's important to the French? But regardless, yeah. I mean, I think that if it's uncontested by Germany, it's kind of a lost move. But that's, I know, a minority opinion, as is the move to York.
Well, once you're in Burgundy, if for some reason Italy goes to Piedmont, you can always bring Burgundy down to Marseille to cover it, so you still get Spain. It's a very defensive and efficient way to cover every center.
I think the German move here was the most common move in diplomacy last year. I ran a statistical analysis of every opening of every power just to see what people were doing, and I think it was at 85% this precise opening. The only difference is whether Kiel goes to Holland, Berlin goes to Kiel, or whether Munich goes to Tyrolia. Those were, I mean, only a couple of times did you see some crazy Russian attack out of a few hundred games. But so I mean, I think Dave's moves are optimal for Germany. Allows them to have a say over Sweden. It'll be very interesting to see what happens. And I'd like to ask you guys, what is your take on the German position of Sweden? I will also tell you statistically, last year, 80% of Germany's allowed Russia into Sweden.
Really?
In gunboat, it's less than 40%.
What is going on in the world these days is what I want to know. That's a shocking statistic to me. That's absolutely shocking. I don't
It
know.
really has to be with whatever communications he has right now. He feels like England and France are more against him, and he'll probably let Sweden in.
But more often than not, right, that Russian unit
Let me-
plays a pivot point between France and England. If Germany wants to go anti-England and lets them in, but sometimes Germany then turns around to help England. So it's a very, you know, I think the decision is much more difficult than people give it credit for.
I kind of disagree in the sense that maybe, so I actually think that if you look at the kind of evolution of diplomacy strategy, a lot of it is, it's not that the strategies get better, but rather that there's an action and a reaction around the social norms, right? So once blocking Russia out of Sweden becomes normalized, then as Germany, you should always do it. If Russia is expected to accept that block, you should do it, because frankly, I mean, I've actually been screwed over, like lost an entire game because Germany blocked me out of Sweden, you know, just because of what was going on in the South. So maybe my thinking is wrong. If 80% of people are letting it in and the expectation is Russia should get it, then that does make sense. But I do want to go back to, you know, you act like you said this is almost the unequivocally most popular opening for Germany, and I'm just want to register my disappointment again. You guys excited me to the point where I almost allowed myself to believe that Germany would open against Russia. That's what you guys did to me, seriously. I'm so angry with you. I was like looking back to these crazy articles I wrote when I first started about how the Blitzkrieg opening, where Austria supports Nicolesia and Germany goes 2 against Warsaw, like, is the best possible move. And I got so excited, and then I see this. You know, it's just horrendous. We should almost move on from the West.
I'm a big fan of letting Russia into Sweden now, because usually if they build in St. Petersburg, they're gonna go for Norway, and in which case you can either take Sweden from right behind. You can't do anything about it.
I disagree so much. I'm not, I know, Ed, that you've had a win or something off this, but I think that I think Germany and Russia, I'm actually surprised that the game hasn't drifted towards them being more aggressive to each other in 1901, because their coexistence is so improbable later in the game to me.
But for me,
It's
getting
very
east of the Baltic,
tricky. It's very tricky to manage. Russia is the most critical ally when facing an EF, and that's why if you don't know if there's, you know, what's happening, you need Russia to stop that EF with you, and they can certainly slow it down.
I would say Italy is the most critical ally in that situation, but I mean, I kind of see what you mean. But yeah, in any case, all I'm saying is that you guys are jerks, and I thought Germany would actually open against Russia, and I got all excited.
no,
All
I
right,
would never
speaking
thought
of
that.
Russia, I mean, this is a very common Southern opening, which makes total sense from any number of reasons. What I find interesting is I'm not saying it's a juggernaut, but Smyrna Hold is an awfully big sign that Turkey's putting a lot of faith in Russia, because Ankara now, you know, has to move to Khan. Smyrna will get opened up for a fleet build, one would assume.
I was like, it was so pre-planned. It's like, why would you bounce? I mean, I understand not wanting to signal, but getting that fleet to con would have been great.
I mean, it's possible that you guys just everything you fed me was completely wrong, that there's either multiple layers of deception or we're just want to think that these guys are more fun than they are. But
yeah, with Italy set up to,
I just think that, yeah, I agree with you completely, Stitches, completely, 100%.
you're
I
losing
mean,
momentum.
if you're going to announce your alliance, maybe they just don't care about what the media says, which is just wrong and immoral. But if you're going to announce your alliance like that, then charge forward. I was so, again, you guys really just got my hopes up, but I was really hoping for a classic juggernaut move.
I mean, they don't want to galvanize the West,
Um,
and I can see that them doing this, but at the same time, they're letting AI jump ahead, which they
I
are.
don't know. Even with a juggernaut, it's very hard to give up the black spring of '01.
No,
I
you
don't
don't
have
give
any
it up.
problem with the bounce. I
You
mean,
don't.
somebody said, and I can't remember who it was, move to the black. If the other person says they're not moving to the black, still move to the black. Always move to the black.
That's true. I mean, I think that the best move is actually just to let Russia have the black and then disband their fleet in Romania. The show of trust causes everyone to think, think you couldn't possibly be so crazy you would let Russia do that. So that if you really want to throw off the West, that would work. They betrayed me. This isn't going to fool anyone. In fact, it's kind of a semi. Again, remember we were talking about social norms. The social norm around the Black Sea means that this looks to everyone like a polite, friendly exchange.
I agree.
Yeah.
All
Having
right,
two
speaking
fleets
of the
on the
big-
Aegean would be ideal. I mean, moving Ankh to Khan and Smyrna to Ankara to defend.
I
It's
agree.
like Black Sea can't do anything anyway, so you'd have two fleets next season. It would just be ideal. But
I will also say I disagree when you say the hold in Smyrna really telegraphs anything. That's pretty established. It's pretty established that you want to leave Constantinople open because you're not actually going to be able to move that army through to Bulgaria. So the hold in Smyrna, I think I read an article on Diplomacy Archive somewhere once that was maybe almost 8,000 words on why you should hold in Smyrna. Later
Brother
on,
Brother Board's article, or it was on his website.
Oh, perhaps. I do remember in early Nexus there was the move the army back movement, which I still, maybe you guys can explain to me why holding Smyrna is still better, but you move to Constantinople and then move back to Smyrna.
because if you want to move your fleet out to Ankara, say right now, and he's in Constantinople, you'd have to move. Away. Right now, you can actually go back to Armenia. You can go to Ankara.
Right.
And so it actually defends, against Russia, which would be the whole reason that you needed to defend.
See, what I like
you
to
can
do is
leave
I like
Khan
to move-
open and build another fleet and take the black if you want. You can leave Smyrna open, build a fleet against Italy. There's a lot of flexibility in Smyrna hold, but I'm a bigger fan of Smyrna to Armenia personally. That's I know Russia. I mean, it's no different than what we're seeing here theoretically. If there's a alliance, but
unless you get the Black Sea, that's pretty pointless, honestly. But if you get the Black Sea, it's great because you can actually use that as a feint and attack the West, or you can attack Russia. As Russia, I'm always angry when people move to Armenia pretty unequivocally. Yeah.
so the winner, Pez, did not hedgehog.
Yeah, not hedgehog.
It's a standard Austrian modern opening, bounces in Galicia, which makes sense. And not only did Italy not take Trieste, Venice held. That's
He's making a play on Greece. He's doing a Balkan run. So
that's a win. That's a win for Pez.
that is a very good negotiation for Pez. He did a great job. Probably the most aggressive play on the entire map. So
now
definitely
Italy, I would give my comment of the spring 1901 to EVR Eustachio for really not liking the move, the Venice hold move. I am not a Venice hold person. I am a Trieste or Tyrolia, sometimes Piedmont, but holding, and I know it was for a very long time, a very popular move. But I'm not a fan of it. What do you guys think?
I actually like this move the most because if you slide into Trieste, Austria is going to react and pull back. It's going to give Turkey momentum. But if you just sit there, more than likely Austria is going to push forward, and you're going to slide in there in the fall. You know, you have a better chance of doing that than you have even a supported attack from Tyrol. So I think he has his options. He's still set up, you know, to be anti-Turkey, but you can also grab an extra dot. 5 center Italy is definitely where it's at. Sitting at 4 is just a long death for me.
Okay, let's do it this way. Does anybody get an A?
So I'm actually, are we doing grades now, or is this just
You're just
and
like
then
grade everybody.
Grades and then predictions.
okay? Fine. Does anyone get an A? I actually will give my great nemesis and also my idol Pezza di Merda an A in this, because you guys touched on it. It's the most aggressive move. If he does manage to get 2 centers, I mean, if you win that Balkan Gambit as Austria, it really, you almost guarantee your survival. You know, my friend Pezza di Merda did stop me from getting my 4th center, you know, when I played with him in the finals, but I'm not going to hold that against him. But not only that, but just knowing his play style a little bit, the fact that everyone on the board is being rational and cautious, it's just so recognizable somehow. You know, everyone is being reasonable, and he is the one who stands to perhaps like just gain a little more than anyone else. I hope that's what's going on. So I'll give him an A.
I'll give Russia an A for not going north, Pez an A, and Germany an A. Everyone else gets a B. And I'll give a C to Italy on the Venice hold.
Most of them are standard moves. I really can't knock a standard move. They're standard for a reason. I really thought we'd see something more dramatic with Russia and Turkey. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. Honestly, my favorite moves are Italy's and Austria's. I just like Italy's because it gives them the most options with Austria's moves.
I mean, you're crazy about Italy. I'm 100% on Ed's side. But it is a bit of a complex of not liking holds, but just something more than just the hold in Venice. But I disagree with. I mean, I'll agree with all your other evaluations, Ed. We can just wrap it up. But the only one I vehemently disagree is your grade for Russia. I think Russia's moves are pretty bad.
Pretty bad. I mean, like, what's not to like except
because if look, if the kind of person who opens to York is very predictable, you know.
Russia is not England, my friend.
Out here, you open north. Like, that's the entire problem with the York opening.
Russia, not England.
I gave Russia an A, not England.
Yeah, Russia does not get an A. England gets an F and Russia gets like a D.
But you're blaming my Russian grade because of the York move. I don't think Russia is adjacent to York with any unit.
I know, because if you move to York, it makes it harder to support into Norway. So a threat to the north is more effective if they open to York. But I'm just saying, I would say that the north, the latitude of cowardice like just kind of runs through Russia and England, so they get the lowest grades. So they'll get, I'll give them C's. Everyone else gets B's, and Pez gets an A. Those are my grades.
All right, predictions. My biggest question is, will Italy shift Venice to Tyrolia, Puglia to Venice? And then they put the hammer down on Pez.
I think he'd be better just slipping right in. Just
Venice
move
to
Venice to
Trieste,
Trieste.
Warsaw to Galicia, take one.
No, no, he should not do that. He would be so. It would be very stupid to attack Austria right now. I think that's what I.
The only response, if that was Austria, is to suicide into Italy. That is the only honorable response to such to a slip into Trieste.
I think that's
You're
a good
just
way to
gonna
go
get
center.
you're gonna get steamrolled if you do that. There's absolutely no evidence that Russia and Turkey won't ally. The English challenge to the north is not particularly absolute. They kind of hedge their bets. Germany's opening west. I think that would be very foolish of him.
Now, personally, I've grown to hate the convoy to Tunis. What do you guys think about it?
I like the power of the Ionian. If you can just shoot that army wherever you need it. I don't like keeping an army in Tunis, but I don't mind convoying it.
It depends. What if you're going to move? I agree with you, Stitches, 100%. Unless you're going to move the Ionian fleet to the Aegean or a more advantageous tile, maybe
The only reason I would move my fleet to Tunis is if I want to hit France.
Yeah, that too. And
that's why I like it. I like the option. You're still going to get a fleet build in Naples. You're still going to get the Ionian, most likely, unless you see the rare Albanian move to Ionian. But I like the flexibility it gives Italy.
It's just a different pivot point. You don't see many Western openings by Italy, so I'm sure.
I have to say, I'm really amused seeing Pez in this position as Austria, because we were in this exact same formation, and he fucking convoyed to Greece with Turkey's support to block me from Greece as Austria. So I am rooting for him, but if I would, if something like that happened, I wouldn't be too sad about it either.
A convoy to Greece and a stab in Trieste.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't think Turkey will turn against Austria. I think that would be silly at this stage in the game.
Okay, does Russia put a fleet or an army into Romania?
I would always put an army.
Something I've learned about addiction, we think that Ewok has changed so much. He's really the way he's kind of putting himself out there is my playstyle's changed so much. I swear I won't block people out of the Black Sea over and over again. It reminds me of addicts who will just lie to you over and over again. I think that he's gonna just continue going the Black Sea with the fleet. There's not going to be a support either way.
I just think that he's an experienced player. He plays Russia very well, and he realizes Russia is a land power. It's like you can see it as two broken halves, but once you start building armies, you can pivot any way, shape, or form through Moscow, and just building army after army is just the best way to go. That's why building in Moscow is so popular. You can go to either front. So I don't see him building any.
Supports himself into Greece, or does he worry about Trieste?
I don't think he's going to worry about Trieste.
I don't think so either.
It's really weird to have an early Italian stab, and as cautious as everyone's playing, I don't think he has anything to worry about.
What does Venice do? Prediction.
So when I watched Max's 17-17 game, just because I was fascinated with it, I have noticed he is a kind of a very intelligent,
logical,
and restrained player. And he would, he does like his support holds. I could see it just holding.
I don't know.
I could
All
see
right.
it.
Now the bigger question. Does somebody support England into Belgium? Is Belgium bouncing? Is Belgium overrated? or does somebody get 3 builds?
It's impossible to know what happens in Belgium, and at this stage in the game, it's just one of those kind of quantum questions.
Yeah, you really need to be inside those talks.
Yeah.
Because
To
you
me,
could
the
just
most
come with Norway and let them bounce themselves.
The most important part Belgium plays is who gets it second. I never mind not getting it. And if someone gets 3 builds, it gives me what I always want, which is the bright, shiny object other players need to concentrate on.
I mean, I will say because England opened to York, it puts a little bit, that move does put a little more pressure on Belgium because it incentivizes an English landing there a little more. And I understand, yeah, the hot potato strategy where you just try to have someone else take Belgium is interesting too. But I can't really give you a prediction there.
All right, now a move that I've stumbled upon just playing it when I was out of frustration, started in season 2 finals, was the bounce of Holland.
Ooh,
that's as bad for Germany as possible. Now, there could be a support from Ruhr that would give up Belgium if that happens, but do we think we'll see that?
I don't know. That's a good move, actually, especially if you have a solid alliance.
well, then again, I mean, there goes the problem with the move to York again, because if you know it's going to bounce, I'd rather do that than North Sea and then land my army in Norway.
Norway, yeah.
Yeah. So
I bet you there's no army in Norway.
It
right?
just, I don't like having it's kind of it's nice to land your army in the first year. I will say that having played Russia enough, I also know that if you want to make friends with Russia, just not landing an army in Norway is a great way to kind of begin things early with them. You have to make it very, very clear what a huge favor you're doing to Russia if you don't land the army in Norway, in my opinion. But
remember, the fake news says they're not friends.
yeah, I know. I don't know what to trust anymore. We're just in a post-truth diplomacy world, I guess. Yeah, I don't think if he had moved to Edinburgh, I think there would be a little bit, the incentive structure would be a little higher for a block in Holland, but I think it's fairly unlikely.
An army in Finland is definitely great, but I like landing in Denmark. I like convincing Russia to go to the Baltic and just dismantling them right away. But
well, we saw you try to do that in season 3, if I'm not mistaken.
I had it coordinated with Max, and yeah, I started listening to the podcast, and I doubted myself, and I ruined my whole game. So, but yeah, I had the support in the Denmark, and I should have taken it. Oh, well, that was the second time. The first time I just tried to go in, but nobody usually holds. Almost
you don't see that move enough.
Oh, the over the top.
Yeah.
The little Swedish switcheroo.
I do it all the time. It's my favorite.
When you get the army in Denmark.
Yeah, when
Correct.
you tell Russia that Germany's going to bounce them, so go to the Baltic, and I'll convoy into Denmark. So
well, I've done that, but in coordination with Russia usually. I think it's called the Magdalena or something. I just call it the Swedish switcheroo. That is a good one. That would be cool.
Russia's not going to get anything anyway, so might as well get some pressure.
We're just fantasizing. We should just stop now. None of that's going to happen. The next season's going to be just as boring.
Yeah, inauspicious beginning, but I'm going to call it the Latitude of Cowardice for our title.
Yes.
Given another, there's always one.
The crowd boos.
Anything else anyone wants to say about this game?
Nothing. I'll just say Forza Pezza di Merda. Yeah, I'm going for you, buddy. Come on, you can do it.
If you could label this map a tutorial on opening moves.
Right. I tend to agree. All right. Thank you to our finalists. You may be boring, but I'm sure it won't last for the next 19 moves. Thanks to Stitches in Hand for coming in here. I was just realizing that if I took weight off of myself and put it onto Hand, we might have a normal person. But nevertheless. Thanks to diplomacybriefing.com for sponsoring the podcast, and good luck to everybody. We will catch you at the end of either the fall or the winter. We don't know. We just do this whenever we want.